Welcome back, guys, to the channel. This is it. This is the 1 year update. Obviously, for those who know, I'm just going to quickly flash back to why this is 1 year on, and this is an update to it. So, for those who know, about a year ago, I had the news dropped on me whilst I was in work that the branch I was working at for the supermarket I work for was closing, and it was either going to be take redundancy or relocate. So opted to relocate. Long story that is short. So the only options that were available were going to be to go into centre of Cardiff, which is capital of Wales, for those of you Americans who may stumble across this, doubtful as it may be, and work with the clothing side of the company as opposed to sticking with the supermarket side. The other options for the supermarket were to go to the other side of Cardiff or to move to where I am now, which is in Cowbridge, which is closer to Bridgend than it is to Cardiff, which it's not much of a difference. So anyway, there was a lot of debate of how this was going to work, what I was going to do, but the conditions needed to be full time, because I was on part-time hours with initially, and it wasn't worth it for me. So the condition was it needed to be full time either way. So we had the John Lewis where we figured out if we wanted to be there or not, and then we were offered interviews for him. And obviously people will work this up when I give the next bit. So I also did trial day down here in Cowbridge at the Waitrose branch in Cowbridge, because it seemed like a better, quicker and easier option to do things that way and come down here as opposed to going to the other side of Cardiff where I've been before, and I didn't much like it up there. So when we were giving interviews for John Lewis, the group interview was a nightmare, and it just didn't feel right. There was something about the job that made me think that I would probably want to be out of there in by the end of the 3-month trial period. Met with the management representatives for Waitrose down in Cowbridge, and it made more sense to go there because it was doing the same thing I've been doing for the past, now going into my 6th year. So it was a waiting game. The John Lewis thing went nowhere because there was no reason for me to be going there, because again, simplistically, same job I was doing in Barry, Waitrose in Barry, I'd be able to do it in Cowbridge and then carry on from where I am now and just keep going to where I am. The only downside was going to be travel. So there was a long debate about how I was going to get back and forth to the branch up here if I got the job here. Because at the time we didn't know if I'd get it or not. We were waiting on certain aspects in terms of like the branch manager to confirm or say yes or to confirm or not give it the go ahead. And it came to a point where it was either going to be you take the John Lewis job because you can get back and forth on a bus or a train, and you don't take the job in Cowbridge because we're not prepared to. Obviously I don't drive, so my parents weren't prepared to run me back and forth for a period of time at all. So we were thinking of ways around it, and then the bombshell was dropped by one of them, my mum and dad, that I'm not taking the job in Cowbridge. You have to take the job in John Lewis because we're not prepared to take you back and forth. I refused to take that because Cowbridge were offering me full-time hours, and John Lewis I would have probably offed myself at some point because it was so boring. So then Dad started looking at potential living arrangements. We tried everything. We tried looking at bus routes. We tried everything to try to figure out a way around it. And the only way to make it work would be to move up there. So within, I think it was about 5 minutes of Mum dropping that thing on me that I can't go, Dad was on the internet looking at flat rentals in the area, and immediately we found about 4, and we booked in to look at 3 because the guy, one of the tenants, the landlord and tenant of the other one, I can't remember which were out, one of the flats we were desperate to look at, wouldn't let anybody in, and we looked at one house as well. So that's how this started. That's how this came to be. Obviously, this is all a year ago. In the week, because obviously it was on the Wednesday this time last year. So now it's obviously a year later. In the build up to what before we get to a year ago today, as to signing off on the paperwork and moving here. So anyway, we had the infusion. I had an infusion, which is for my condition, Crohn's disease, pain in the ass. Did that, and it was on the same day as that, Dad had managed to book in to go see these flats. So we were going to take Mum. Mum didn't want to. Mum wasn't feeling very well, so we went up and we looked at them. The house we looked at first was horrifying. It was horrible. That's not a word. Horrifying. It was dingy, it was dark, it wasn't clean, it was too much hassle, and it just looked horrible. So the second flat that we went to see, first flat, second property, we went to look at was, so the first lot were all in the same complex, which was the point, because they were close enough to the branch where it was within walking distance, as it would have been if I'd gone into the house, if I'd taken the house, which having seen it, I wasn't going to do that. So the first flat that we looked at, was on the ground floor, but it was on the ground floor. It was okay, but it wasn't big enough. There wasn't enough space for me to have like my desk, my unit. Well, one of my units. I've still got to get the other one from Mum and Dad, and other bits and pieces. There were things that weren't going to work properly, so we looked at Dad and I just looked at it. It was okay, but it was my call. So I said no. Straight off on the bat, I'm going, no, this one's not right. Went and looked at the second one. It was up on the bit further on a little bit further away on the complex, but it was a first floor flat that was really quite nice, but it was still too small. It was too small. And that had been a thing for me for the past 4 or 5 months, having been at home. I'd streamed a few times, because I obviously stream on Twitch occasionally when my stuff doesn't break, which it has done this time, again this year, so we're dealing with it. So space was becoming a major problem at home anyway, and one of the things I had set out to do in some point in the year was to actually move out. So it was on my list of things to do, but it wasn't going to be as quick as we thought it was going to be. So that one was fine, and there was something that was said by the agent, and she said something about price and something like that, and it was like, Dad said that was okay, that was fine, but that just something didn't feel quite right about the place. So when we looked at the last one, obviously the place I'm in now, it was massive. Even for a 2-bedroom flat on the ground floor of a complex, it was big enough. It's space enough because the living room is big. It's massive. It was instantly get in there, walk around, work out what could go where, configure it in my head, and then I looked, and then Dad and I had this moment where I looked at Dad and said, "This is the one." So we came home, told Mum, put an offer in, and it was almost about a. It was within a couple of. It was either in a couple of days or a week's time that things started to move at a little bit more full pace. So we were running out of time. Essentially, we were up against the clock because the deadline for me to finish in Barry was coming up, and then to move out to the Cowbridge branch was fast approaching, and I needed to be ready to go by I can't remember what date. So yeah, we had this opportunity to come down. It all fell into place, and everything was going smoothly for the duration. So we get to that day where we signed the paperwork. That's all done, and we can then obviously we're delaying moving in because I'm still having to go back and forth to the branch I'm at beforehand. So branch closes, move out, and then I move in on. So finish on the Saturday, complete moving on the Sunday, sleep in on the Sunday, sleep down in the flat on the Sunday, start work in Cambridge on the Monday. It was that quick. Didn't have much time to acclimatise and settle in, but it was that quick that we had to do everything. We did virtually everything on that week leading up, from the Monday to the Friday. We did from most of the Monday to the Friday we did virtually everything else. But with my days off, I was able to sort of go in and out and get things ready to go before we moved everything out on. I think it was either the Wednesday or the Thursday. Maybe not on the Wednesday because it was my day off, and we were able to move everything into the place. I was just sleeping back at home in the spare bedroom. Obviously, then we start on the Monday. And as it gets on, I'm starting to learn more and more about the branch. I'm getting more and more confident that I can do the job and pay the job I was learning to do in Barry before I got moved. Everything's going according to plan. Then we get to about Christmas time. Then we get to just before Christmas. So obviously, as I said, everything was going fairly well before Christmas, and then we get the news that my mum's cancer had reappeared. It hit me pretty much instantly because it was something you didn't expect, and obviously the initial reaction for me was that's fine, they can maintain it and they can get rid of it again. This time was a bit different because when mum and dad told me what it was, they told us there was nothing they could do this time. It was too far advanced, and then there was not a lot more that could be done. So there was this whole gap of me from June through to November-ish. So from July, August, September, October, November. So about 6 months. About 5 months, that 5 month period of everything going according to plan, then bam! It's like hitting a brick wall. So in that time frame, at that point of everything happening with mum, we had everything kicking over and catching up, and it drastically altered my perception of how things needed to be. It's no longer just about doing things for the benefit of going to work. If I can't be in work because because health-wise I'm not in a good place, I am not going to do it anymore. That was the ultimate takeaway of that. So we hit January, hit the new year, things are sort of like leveled out, and then things start to unfold with this current situation we're in with the pandemic hitting, and obviously initially it's not too bad. Things haven't hit the fan, and it's not outright terrifying, but it hit point. So once it hit March and the realism became a realistic problem, I took the initial instant just to basically take myself out of the equation altogether, because my Crohn's it has me on 2 forms of medication which are double immunosuppressants, which are a major problem, because that could if I get it, I could be screwed. So I was told to. So I took initial reaction just to stay out of the way for a week during my whole week off. Then I went back. And then the government told us that we may need to start shielding for 12 weeks. So I officially went off work on the 4th of June. I was basically told to quit, essentially, on the 4th of June. It's been almost 8 weeks, and I have not yet lost my mind. So I'm lucky because I've got about 4 weeks to go. 4 weeks this Saturday to go before I can go back to work and carry on where I left off. But as I said at the start of this video, I said it's been a whole year, and you can just tell that in that year time frame from the 28th of May 2019 to the 28th of May 2020, which is now, it's been chaos. There's all that bit. There's everything that went on at the beginning of from that time start point where I signed the lease on the flat I'm in to where I moved job. Mum got re-diagnosed as being unwell, and there was nothing they could do. To the pandemic hitting, being furloughed somewhere in between that, and not being able to go to work for 12 weeks. So yeah, it's been one pretty long and interesting year, and I'm telling you right now, it ain't going to get any easier. Once I go back, I'm going to go back to doing things the way I used to do. It's just going to be a case of I've got to adapt on the fly. So yeah, 1 year ago today, I signed a lease on a flat that was actually mine for, well, 6 months, and another 6 months. And I've just actually got them to agree to give me another 6 months on top of that. So yeah, it's still kind of surreal that how far I've come in a year. And yeah, I've had this told to me by my mum and my dad. They're extremely proud of how far I've come and how quickly I've had to adapt to everything, including me actually physically moving out and living on my own. And the pandemic hitting and trying to fend for myself, which with nobody here with me has been a real pain in the ass. So yeah, it's been one hell of a year, and again, I don't foresee it going back to the way it used to be, but it will start to get better. Things will start to get better, and when they do, coming out the other side will be so much more satisfying for everybody, because it means that the virus is gone. It's non-existent in the country anymore, and everybody's lives can start to go back to normal. I mean, currently we're in a position where nobody's lives will be the same. We all have to keep ourselves a distance of 2 meters apart, which in the environment I'm going back to on the 27th of June is, well, not the 27th, on the 29th of June, on the Monday, is going to be a little bit difficult, but it'll have to be made to work. We have to try and make it work, because otherwise we're risking our own health and the health of the customers we're trying to serve. But it's a case of trying to make things work and make the best of a situation where we don't really want to be in. And it's been interesting because it's affected everything that I love. Sport's been affected. There's been no football up until a couple of weeks ago when the German football came back in. It drastically has affected the professional wrestling industry. No minor shows have run, but everybody, the major shows have done everything they can. WWE have managed to continue without an audience to start with, but then they put wrestlers in the audience. AEW had been carrying on with an audience, and you know, it's drastically altered the world of professional wrestling. And hopefully, next year fans will be allowed back in at full strength. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with how things are going. I'm happy that things are starting to look a little bit brighter in the UK, at least anyway. Everywhere else has started to ease up on this stuff. But yeah, 1 year on, and it's gone from good to shit in 365 days. But you know, it is what it is. I know this has been an extremely long video, and I pretty much had to try and explain bits and the bit from the beginning to where we are now, but I just wanted to keep everybody updated about explaining what's happened, why it's been such an important year for me, and why everything that's going on I just wanted basically people to see that yeah, it's been a year, and I just wanted to basically make sure I had a document of this somewhere, whether it's physically typed out or whether it was a YouTube video. And obviously, I do YouTube video updates where I can. So this will be on my YouTube channel when and where I don't know. I don't know when it's going on YouTube. I think it'll go on a bit later today, and then obviously, yeah. So don't forget, guys. You can keep up everything I'm doing on my YouTube channel. Obviously, follow the link on the link in the follow. Keep myself on the link. If you want to subscribe to the channel, feel free. I have virtually no subscribers on there. But no pressure. If you want to, feel free. You can follow me on twitch.tv, which is my username is killingjoke91. It's all one word. It's supposed to be capital K, capital J on the killing and the joke, but it doesn't work. It's not turned out like that. So that's why you can find me on Twitch. You could follow my gaming account, my gaming account to keep up when I'm streaming, which is at Twitch, which is at Killing Joke Games. We also hang on, no, that's what it comes up as on screen. So it's at Killing Joke 1991, and then obviously if you want to follow my personal account, it's at Alex_Portlock, Portlock with a capital P. It's been a year. Hope to God I don't see you in another year, because if I do, then something's gone horribly wrong. See you later, guys.